Boomer shooters, the genre that started video games' cataclysmic rise from being the thing that would get you bullied by your peers to the thing that most of your peers do. Growing up when I did and playing the games I did when I was a kid, I missed out on this style of game. There were plenty of video games before the early 90s, but this new first-person shooter style game took the world by storm. It would lead to multiplayer first-person shooters like Quake 2, Counter-Strike, and eventually, many years down the line, to where we are now.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
For better or worse, being born in the mid-90s, this era passed me by. I never got to experience the insanity of early multiplayer shooters, as when I was old enough to play and understand video games, I was too busy commanding and conquering on two different Earths, and the endlessly fascinating Arrakis. I was exploring Kanto with Charmander. I was building a theme park in the sweltering dynamite dunes in a game I got in a cereal box. And I was helping that Abe guy save his people. On top of that, I was far too young to play M-rated titles, as back then, M-rated titles were not populated by 8-year-olds. On top of that, news organizations were spreading negative rhetoric about violence in video games. Even fucking Animal Crossing wasn't safe. I never had a chance in hell to play some of the most important shooters of all time. I got to play GoldenEye 64 at friends' houses on very rare occasions, and I had fun, but then I got to watch people play Halo 1, and I was immediately in love with first-person shooters. But I wouldn't own my own shooter until Star Wars Battlefront came out in 2004. I was still very young, but I was hooked into the shooter genre whenever I wasn't playing some Nintendo game that I had. Looking back on video games, the things I want most are a resurgence of the arena shooter style games like Unreal Tournament, a Halo game that doesn't take around 5 years after it's been released to be a fully packaged and working Halo game, a good Command & Conquer game or Dune RTS, or a game that could capture the magic of the original boomer shooters that kicked off the craze in the first place. Which leads us to... by the
Golden Throne.
Warhammer Boltgun is the latest release in the Warhammer verse, a love letter to the boomer shooter genre, which laughs in the face of the slow-paced shooters of the modern day. Where Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal were the evolution of this genre, Boltgun returns to the roots, for better or worse. Let's talk about it. This game runs incredibly smooth and is jam-packed with action from start to finish. Your normal walk speed is most games' sprint speed. Okay? And then you press the sprint button and you just start fucking zooming around the battlefield with heavy mechanical footfalls following you everywhere you go, heralding the destruction of your foes. The arsenal of guns is also great, but the flamer and the heavy bolter are next level. The enemy design is awesome. All of the sprites look great. And watching them explode when shot with even the weakest gun in your arsenal is oh so satisfying. Boltgun does the classic boomer shooter level structure of finding various key cards and inserting them into various doors, which is a fun gameplay loop. However, it gets a bit tiresome in this instance because of one serious problem that this game has. There is no map.
What the fuck is this world? What have they done to us? What did they do to us?
There are flags around the map that highlight something important is nearby, but due to the industrial Gothic architecture that is present throughout the vast majority of this game, most of the game looks exactly the same. Now I understand lore-wise, that's how the architecture looks. And that's great. But from a gameplay standpoint, if everything looks the same and there's no map, where do you go?
Where do I fucking go?
You've already built the maps. I'm running through them right now. Just can you give me the map visual, please? Just the bare bones. I just need to know that there's a room here and a room here. This is a sin from the boomer shooter genre that unfortunately endured. This is also something that you could easily avoid. Like, you already have the maps. Just show me the maps. Also, there is one map that is a Zinch flavored temple. I gotta say, not having a map on that level was torturous. I thankfully figured it all out because I was just, I kind of just fucking threw myself into every portal I saw and just hoped and prayed that I got to the end. And then eventually I said, you know what, that'd be stupid. What if I try and land on this platform instead? And then it worked. And then I made it and it was over. The only reason I made it is because I tried dumb shit. It didn't feel the best. Mind you, the design of that level is really cool. I just wish there was a map. Also, very important thing, there is a taunt button in this game. Regrettably, I didn't learn about this until near the end of my playthrough. So there are plenty of heretics that I did not get to taunt. It's tea. You'll thank me later. I know a fair bit about the lore of Warhammer 40k and a little bit more about the Warhammer fantasy setting. So I'm of the understanding that there is no way in hell that a single Space Marine could possibly kill a Lord of Change, a Great Unclean One, or a very powerful Chaos Sorcerer. But screw it, the boss fights are fun, whatever. This isn't canon, I think. End of the day, being a fan of the Warhammer Fantasy universe, I'm well aware that Games Workshop is more than willing to toss out decades of writing and world building for very little reason and without much care. And they are more than happy to prevent people from producing fan content that would bring more people into the game.
Bring back TTS and retcon the end times, you corporate swine! Ah!
Well, there goes my Warhammer sponsorship. This being a boomer shooter and this being a Warhammer 40k Space Marine story means one thing. The story really doesn't matter. Essentially, you are a guy called Malum Kaido, a Space Marine, purging the heretics and fighting for the glory of the Man Emperor. Basically, you gotta kill stuff and not die so that you can proceed to kill stuff and continue to not die. This story is as deep as a bowl of soup. The 2D visuals are perfect. The art style is perfect. And the few cutscenes in this game look awesome. I have zero complaints about the visuals. This game nails the Warhammer 40k atmosphere as well as the 90s boomer shooter style perfectly. The music in this game absolutely slaps. The first time I turned on this game and the menu music started playing, I listened to it all the way through. There are a lot of bangers in this game. Also, I learned some of the tracks, the menu music included, were originally done by a band called D-Rock, a band known for doing music that is inspired by Warhammer. I just find it cool and wholesome that they're getting some recognition through the developers of the game. Just wanted to mention that. Soundtrack is a banger. The game is a fun time, and for $30, I got 10 hours out of it, which isn't a bad amount. If it had an in-game map, I would recommend it to everybody, but because it does not, I will only recommend it to people who are nostalgic about boomer shooters and really just want a taste of that sort of vibe, for better and worse. The worse being getting lost all the time, and the better being the sheer insanity of the larger scale battles. It is a solid game. Not amazing, but solid. Definitely try it if it goes on sale. First-person shooters have been a big part of my life, especially Bungie's Halo series. Looking at Halo now, it makes me feel betrayed. I find myself feeling akin to lamenting a dying friend. Halo's a dead brand due to bad management, broken promises, a lack of care for the community, releasing unfinished and broken games, and on top of all of that, what the fuck even was the Halo show, you know? It's a mess. Halo was the last important arena-style shooter that we had. And the people who were given not just the privilege, but the responsibility of developing games in such a well-beloved franchise squandered it worse than I could have possibly imagined. But playing Boltgun showed me that there's still a love and respect for the games that came before. It's 2023. It's 30 years after the boomer shooter style really took off. Perhaps, and you know, this is just me dreaming here, that maybe in 2030 we'll get ourselves an arena shooter style game again that really matters and really kicks ass. This being 30 years after the release of those classics, perhaps in around 2030, we will get a resurgence of the arena-style shooter like Halo, because that would be 30 years after the release of Halo 1. To get personal for a minute, during the popularity of Halo 3, I was not in a good place. The only place I felt any sort of safety was playing Halo 3 with the people whom I had met through playing it. The community that game had was so unbelievably strong. You had to be there to see it. The game chat functionality, along with the community features and collaboration with the developers, choosing the favorite things that they saw from the community at the time, and everybody getting to experience it themselves, it was amazing. Because arena shooters allowed for the use of mods for generating new content or maps, or they had in-game editors for those sorts of things like Halo, those games had longer lifespans than most games nowadays, barring the undying Fortnite. But that game changes all of the time. I remember when that game was a PvE-style tower defense game that nobody played. The era of most arena shooters may have passed me by, but at least I got to play Halo when it was popular. There's nothing I want more than for people to get to experience just how awesome that kind of game can be. And looking at shooters now, all of them seem to be focused on having a battle royale style mode, or they are just jam-packed full of microtransactions. Or both. And the games that don't focus on being battle royales, for some reason, seem to fail to deliver even passable experiences, with the people in charge of making the game seemingly forgetting and not understanding why those games were so popular in the first place, and why those games are so loved by so many. There's plenty of enjoyment to be had in these quote-unquote dead genres. Publishers and stockholders are so afraid of long-term commitment that they would rather release a broken game that tarnishes the company's history as well as the trust they have with their consumers than release a game that works. Boltgun, despite looking like a game that came out 30 years ago, gave me more enjoyment than most AAA releases that have come out in recent time. And I'm talking original games here. The Dead Space remake was amazing, but it is a remake. It's not original. Truly, these are dark times for gaming, and I hope that we see our way through this shitstorm of greed and entitlement. Hello! Thank you so much for watching the video. Have you played Boltgun? What are your thoughts on Warhammer 40k? What are your thoughts on Warhammer Fantasy? What are your thoughts on Halo? Would you be excited for a proper resurgence of the arena-style shooter? Or am I cringe?
Get in the comments!
God, what a crazy couple months it has been. Your boy has been put through the ringer these past 2 months. I was planning to release this video sooner, but a bunch of things went very wrong in my life, so I had to sort those out before getting back to this, hence the video length and the delay on it. So yes, I'm later than I would have liked, but hey, things are back on track. And that's what matters. Something that has blown my mind is this. I appreciate everybody who has been watching my videos and subscribing recently and commenting. You guys are all awesome. I appreciate all of you. The attention this channel has been getting has been a really nice silver lining on all the crap I've been going through recently. With all that said, I'll wrap this up. Thank you again so much for being here. If you've watched all the way to this point, I don't get the words to thank you. They don't exist. I'll stick with thank you, but like I need bigger words to thank you. And I want you all to stay safe out there, and I want you to have a great day. And I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.